Hello, Fabric community. This is the September edition of the Microsoft Fabric Monthly Update. I am Jason Himmelstein, Principal PM Manager for Content Strategy in Microsoft Fabric. This month, we're bringing you all of the announcements from the European Microsoft Fabric Community Conference in Stockholm, Sweden. Arun Ulag, Amir Netz, and Kim Manis have just finished delivering the opening keynote with a crew of amazing demoers, and we're excited to share with you what's new. Be sure to check out not only the Microsoft Fabric Monthly Updates blog, but also Arun's announcement blog post, both of which are linked in the video description below. Now, normally we start this video with all of the Power BI content. However, we have 20 demos that we want to share with you for Microsoft Fabric alone. So we're going to provide you with a synopsis of the Power BI content and ask you if you want to go into detail, please go over to our other channel, youtube.com/@Microsoft Power BI, in order to find all of the details and see all of the demos of the Power BI content for this month. You can find a link to it in the video description below. Let's go ahead and get into it. Power BI. The Copilot chat pane will now automatically provide text-based answers and summaries across all pages in a report. Previously, users had to specifically request cross-page summaries or click a base summary of the entire report button. With this update, cross-page summaries and answers are now the default setting, streamlining the exploration process. Power BI has a transformative new feature designed to redefine how organizations manage and consume metrics and features visuals and Copilot insights, called Metrics Hub. Metrics Hub is an innovative metrics layer within Fabric aimed at helping organizations define, discover, and reuse trusted metrics with ease. This feature allows trusted creators within an organization to develop standardized metrics that incorporate essential business logic, ensuring consistency across the organization. You can now choose from a variety of themes in Power BI Desktop, including the most requested, Dark Mode. You can personalize your data visualization experience to match your preferences and working environment. In addition, we now have consolidated similar options in the menu bar and streamlined the button text for better readability and responsive screen sizing. To learn more about these and all of the other features this month, read the Power BI August 2024 feature summary, linked below. Fabric Core. Announcing the availability of trusted workspace access and managed private endpoints in any Fabric capacity. We're thrilled to share with you an update on the Fabric network security features that were announced in general availability earlier this year. Trusted workspace access and managed private endpoints enable you to secure and optimize your data access and connectivity with Fabric and protect your business-critical data from unauthorized or unwanted access. However, these features were available only in F64 or higher capacities. Based on your feedback, you can now use these features with any F capacity that suits your business needs. We're also making managed private endpoints available in trial capacities as a part of this release. Multi-tenant Organization Public Preview. Fabric now supports Entra ID multi-tenant organizations, or MTO. Many larger organizations have multiple Entra ID tenants for various reasons, such as mergers and acquisitions, compliance and security boundaries, or complex organizational structures. The multi-tenant organization's capability in Entra ID synchronizes users across multiple tenants, adding them as users of external member type. Announcing Git integration general availability. Fabric Git integration is now generally available. This feature allows you to sync workspaces with Git repositories, leverage version control, and collaborate seamlessly with Azure DevOps or GitHub. Though some items are still in preview, additional items will become generally available for Git integration over time. A new design for deployment pipelines in preview. Deployment pipeline redesign is now in preview, and we are thrilled to announce the launch of Deployment Pipelines Redesign. This major update brings many improvements and new features designed to make your deployment process more efficient and user-friendly. We've reimagined the deployment pipeline from the ground up, ensuring that every aspect of your deployment workflow is optimized for performance and ease of use. Homepage improvements. There are now new enhancements that are available in our homepage that are designed to streamline your experience and boost your productivity. Enhanced Workspace Focus. The first improvement that we've made is putting workspaces and related actions in the premium real estate on the homepage. The primary call to action is now dedicated to creating a workspace and navigating to recent ones. Collapsible Learn section. We've also refined our recommended section, transforming it into the Learn section. This new area is packed with sample material and learning resources designed to help new users get up to speed quickly. Recognizing that these resources are particularly useful for newcomers, we've made the Learn section collapsible. For our experienced users, collapsing this section provides more space for the quick access area, ensuring a more streamlined experience. And now let's take a look at some demos.
Hi, this video is to demo deployment pipeline's new design through an end-to-end scenario of creating a pipeline, add content to it, deploy, and track changes between the stages. We'll start by creating a deployment pipeline to this workspace named Redesign Demo Dev by clicking this button of Create Deployment Pipelines. In this phase, my deployment pipeline was not created yet. Initially, I'll establish the framework for this deployment pipeline, and after that, by selecting Create and Continue, it will be constructed. By default, we get the 3 common stages of development, test, and production. I can add more stages, and for this example, let's say that I want to have another 2 UAT and prep prod, so I'll go ahead and click on the plus button to add those. The pipeline has been successfully established, and I have the ability to magnify or minimize the view to observe all the stages in detail. I'll commence by utilizing this drop-down menu to allocate the workspace that was the origin of the entire process to my development stage. Once completed, I can see on the bottom the content of the assigned workspace. Since I don't have a source to this stage, the compared to source column and the source stage item are not available. For my test stage, which is empty, I have 2 options to add content. One, again, by assigning an existing workspace, or by deploying from a neighbor stage. As selecting to deploy from the development stage, I can see all its items appear as potential content with the status of only in source. I'll go ahead and deploy all the items that I have on my source stage, the development, into this test stage. It creates a new workspace and copying the content to this workspace. Once done, I can see that it was a successful deployment. Next, let's assign a workspace to the UAT stage as well. We can see that differences were spotted comparing to test, summarizing in 9 items, which are not the same as their paired ones on test. Sorting the content area by the compare column, I can see all those items first. By selecting the compare button, it opens the schema comparison window, displaying the differences line by line. Back to my pipeline page, I can also filter the stage items list by item sync status or item type. As for deployment rules and deployment history views, those remain unchanged. I can enter each through their buttons on the stage card. Lastly, use the toggle on the top right corner to switch between the old and new UI anytime you want. We invite you to explore the new deployment pipelines redesign and experience the benefits firsthand. Thank you for watching our demo.
Welcome to the demo of our new homepage improvements. The first improvement we've made is putting workspaces and related actions in the premium real estate on the homepage. Here, you can create a workspace from a task flow. Once in the workspace, the task flow guides you to create specific items. The idea is to encourage you to think in terms of projects and what you are trying to build end-to-end, instead of having to think about which workloads or items you need to use. In Quick Access, you can quickly return to any of your recent workspaces and pick up right where you left off. Next, we've refined the recommended section into what we now call the Learn section. This section contains sample and learning materials to help new users get started. Since these resources are mainly useful to new users, we've made this section collapsible. For those who are already familiar with our product, collapsing this section saves more space for the Quick Access section below it. These changes are just the beginning of our journey towards a more intuitive, workspace, and task flow-centric homepage. Stay tuned for more updates, and thank you for watching.
Fabric OneLake. Access Databricks Unity Catalog tables from Microsoft Fabric, now in public preview. We're pleased to announce that you can now access Databricks Unity Catalog tables directly from Fabric. In Fabric, you can now create a new data item called Mirrored Azure Databricks Catalog. When creating this item, you simply provide your Azure Databricks workspace URL and select the catalog you want to make available in Fabric. Rather than making a copy of the data, Fabric creates a shortcut for every table in the selected catalog. It also keeps the Fabric data item in sync. So, if a table is added or removed from the Unity catalog, the change is automatically reflected in Fabric. OneLake shortcuts to Iceberg tables, now in public preview. You can now consume Iceberg formatted data across Microsoft Fabric with no data movement or duplication. With our latest update, you can simply point an Iceberg plus Delta Parquet dataset you've written using Snowflake or other Iceberg-compatible services or tools, and OneLake does the magic of virtualizing that table as a Delta Lake table for broad compatibility across Fabric engines. GCS shortcuts and S3-compatible shortcuts are now generally available. Utilize shortcuts in OneLake to quickly and easily make data accessible in Fabric. No need to set up pipelines or copy jobs. Just create a shortcut and your data is immediately available in Fabric. Don't forget to enable shortcut caching. GCS and S3 compatible shortcuts both support caching. This can be enabled in your workspace in the settings. By enabling shortcut caching, you can reduce your egress costs when accessing data across clouds or service providers. REST APIs for OneLake shortcuts is now generally available. We recently made big improvements to the REST APIs for OneLake shortcuts, including adding support for all current shortcut types, including a new list operation. With these improvements, you can programmatically create and manage your OneLake shortcuts. We're excited to announce that these APIs are now generally available. Fabric Synapse Data Warehouse. Copilot for Data Warehouse is now in public preview. Copilot for Data Warehouse is an AI assistant that helps developers generate insights through T-SQL exploratory analysis. Copilot is contextualized to your warehouse's schema. With this feature, data engineers and data analysts can use Copilot to generate T-SQL queries for data analysis, explain and add inline code comments for existing T-SQL queries, fix broken T-SQL code, receive answers regarding general data warehousing tasks and operations. Delta column mapping in SQL Analytics Endpoint, now in public preview. SQL Analytics Endpoint now supports Delta tables with column mappings enabled for public preview. Column mapping is a feature of Delta tables that allows users to include spaces as well as specific special characters in table column names. The extra characters in the column names are shown in the Lakehouse, brought through into the SQL Analytics Endpoint, the semantic model, and into Power BI reports. Enabling SQL Analytics Endpoint on schema-enabled Lakehouse in public preview. We're enabling the SQL Analytics Endpoint on schema-enabled Lakehouses. This allows Delta tables in schemas to be queried in the SQL Analytics Endpoint. New editor improvements for Data Warehouse and SQL Analytics Endpoints. We're excited to share key improvements to our new editor in Fabric Data Warehouse and SQL Analytics Endpoint to improve the consistency and efficiency of SQL developer experiences. Starting with the ribbon, the actions presented would change depending upon your context in our previous editor. This lacked consistency with other Fabric tools and required extra click stops to launch a certain experience from the ribbon. To make the ribbon more intuitive, we have improved our ribbon to be unified by consolidating all dev tools in a single location, split by 2 tabs for a streamlined workflow. T-SQL Notebook to develop, prepare, and analyze warehouse data. You can now use Fabric Notebooks to develop your Fabric warehouse and consume data from your warehouse or SQL Analytics endpoint. The ability to create a new notebook item from your warehouse editor lets you carry over your warehouse context into the notebook and use rich capabilities of Notebook to run T-SQL queries. T-SQL Notebook enables you to execute complex T-SQL queries, visualize results in real time, and document your analytical process with a single cohesive interface. The embedded rich T-SQL IntelliSense and easy gestures like Save as Table, Save as View, or Run Selected Code provides familiar experiences in Notebook experience to increase your productivity. Now let's take a look at a demo.
I'm excited to show you in this demo some key improvements to our new editor in Fabric Data Warehouse and SQL Analytics Endpoint to improve the consistency and efficiency of SQL developers' experiences and to better align with the Fabric design. Starting with the ribbon, it now consolidates all your dev tools in a single location split by two tabs, the Home and Reporting tab. The Home tab includes actions for an end-to-end developer experience, starting from ingesting data with Get Data, and once the data is ingested, you can query the data using new SQL query or new visual query and any of the provided templates. For monitoring, you can view the status of your queries through query activity, and you can start modeling new relationships with the new model layout entry point. Lastly, you can also download your existing schema as a SQL project. The Reporting tab provides all the necessary tools regarding modeling, from creating a new report to all things semantic model, including creating, managing, and updating. Our new data grid within Data Preview and displaying query results now provides added capabilities at the column level. These capabilities can help you quickly analyze and filter your data without running any T-SQL. You can now sort by ascending and descending order. You can also select as well and specify specific values to filter out per column, along with many more features to come. The third feature I want to showcase is the improved experience of multitasking in two ways. The first is between Data Preview, Query, and Modeling using dynamic tabs. In our previous editor, you could only focus on one of these actions at a time, but we've heard your feedback that there are scenarios in which you need to look at multiple item types at once when writing queries. For example, you might need to check on the data in the tables and the relationship between tables in the BI models to decide how to better structure a query. With each experience open through a dynamic tab, you can easily toggle for a smoother experience. The second enhanced multitasking feature is the navigation between warehouses and SQL Analytics Endpoint. With the new editor, no matter which tab you're on, you can smoothly transition between artifacts and it persists your last activity. Thank you for watching.
Fabric Synapse Data Engineering. High concurrency mode for notebooks in pipelines, now in public preview. We're excited to announce the public preview of high concurrency mode for notebooks in pipeline. This new feature in Microsoft Fabric enables users to share Spark sessions across multiple notebooks within a pipeline. Pipelines are primarily used for orchestrating data engineering tasks for production workloads and scheduled jobs. For enterprise data teams, optimizing resource utilization and achieving the best price-performance ratio is crucial for faster job start times and efficient compute usage. Spark Connector for Fabric Data Warehouse. Recently, we launched Fabric Spark Connector for Fabric Data Warehouse, DW, in Fabric Runtime to empower Spark developers or data scientists to access and work on data from Fabric DW and SQL Analytics Endpoint of the Lakehouse, either from within the same workspace or across workspaces, with a simplified Spark API. This initial version supported reading data from a table or view only in Scala. We're happy to announce that we have released these additional capabilities: support for custom or pass-through query, support for PySpark, and support for Fabric Runtime 1.3, Spark 3.5. T-SQL Notebook is now available for public preview. This enhancement broadens our language support, extending from a Spark-centric approach to include T-SQL as well. With this update, T-SQL developers can now utilize Notebook for crafting their T-SQL queries to develop a warehouse. They can organize extensive queries into separate code cells and use Markdown cells for enhanced documentation, offering a more comprehensive documentation experience. Environment Artifact Integration with Synapse VS Code Extension. Microsoft Fabric Environments is a consolidated item for all of your hardware and software settings. In an environment, you can select different Spark runtimes, configure your compute resources, install libraries from public repos or local directories, and more. By supporting the environment item within Synapse VS Code extension, you can explore and manage the environment from VS Code side. Expanding the new node of the environment within VS Code, you can see all environment items from the selected workspace and easily identify the workspace default one. Notebook debug within vscode.dev, now in public preview. vscode.dev is a lightweight version of VS Code running fully in the browser. We released the extension Synapse VS Code Remote last year to enable the edit and run Fabric Notebook within vscode.dev. We're excited to announce the introduction of the debug feature for Notebook today. This update brings us closer to achieving a pro-dev experience within Notebook, adding Python support in Fabric User Data Functions, introducing support for Python functions in Fabric User Data Functions, or UDF. Private preview users can now create and run functions that will run on Python version 3.11. This enables users to leverage powerful Python libraries such as Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, and more. These functions are compatible with the existing Fabric data source integrations, so users can interact with data warehouses such as lakehouses. Functions Hub is now available for Fabric User Data Functions. Functions Hub provides a single location to view, access, and manage your user data functions. Users can access this feature on the left navigation bar or in the data engineering experience. Support for space in Lakehouse Delta table names. We are pleased to announce the support for spaces in Lakehouse Delta table names, enhancing usability for all users across Fabric. This feature allows you to create and query Delta tables with spaces in their names, such as sales by region or customer feedback. This aligns with the expectation of Power BI and SQL customers who are used to working with spaces in their table names. You can now seamlessly use spaces in table names across Lakehouse Explorer and its experiences, Spark, shortcuts, and other experiences. Fabric Runtime 1.3 GA. We're extremely excited to announce the advancement of Fabric Runtime 1.3 from public preview to general availability. Our Apache Spark Big Data Execution Engine, optimized for both data engineering and data science workflows, has been fully updated and seamlessly integrated into the Fabric platform along with all of our components. Native Execution Engine for Fabric Runtime 1.3 is now available in public preview. Previously, the Native Execution Engine supported earlier versions of Runtime 1.3, but is now fully compatible with the latest GA runtime version, which is also based on Delta Lake 3.2. The Native Execution Engine can significantly enhance the performance of your Spark jobs and queries. This engine has been completely rewritten in C++, operates in columnar mode, and utilizes vectorized processing. It offers superior query performance across data processing, ETL, data science, and interactive queries, all directly on your Delta Lake. Importantly, this engine is fully compatible with Apache Spark APIs, including Spark SQL API. Acceleration tab and UI enablement for the Native Execution Engine. No code changes are required to speed up the execution of your Apache Spark jobs when using the Native Execution Engine. You have the flexibility to activate the Native Execution Engine whether through your environment settings or selectively for individual notebooks or jobs. By enabling this feature within your environment settings, all subsequent jobs and notebooks associated with that environment will automatically inherit this configuration. Fabric Spark Runtime's Release Notes. To enhance your experience, we are now providing detailed automated release notes for each Apache Spark-based runtime we deliver. These notes will be readily accessible, offering complete transparency and clarity regarding the updates, including their purpose. This will empower you to seamlessly adapt your workloads and fully leverage the benefits of each update. Enable and disable functionality in APIs for GraphQL. The Enable Disable feature for queries and mutations in Microsoft Fabric's GraphQL API provides administrators and developers with granular control over API access and usage. This functionality allows you to selectively activate or deactivate specific queries and mutations within your GraphQL schema, giving you the ability to manage API capability dynamically without altering the underlying code or deployment changes. Public REST API of Lively Endpoint. The Fabric Lively Endpoint lets users submit and execute their Spark code on Spark Compute within a designated Fabric workspace, eliminating the need to create any notebook or Spark job definition artifacts. This integration with a specific Lakehouse artifact ensures straightforward access to data stored on OneLake. Additionally, the Lively API offers the ability to customize the execution environment through its integration within the environment's artifact. Now let's take a look at some demos.
Now you can create the T-SQL notebook from Data Warehouse SQL Editor. When the new notebook is created, T-SQL is set as the language. You can create the T-SQL code from code template and run it against the connected warehouse. Once the execution is done, you can quickly inspect the quality of the result set with the built-in visualization feature. You can also trigger the Save As Table action with a selected query, same as Save As View. Multiple warehouses or SQL endpoint can be added into the same T-SQL notebook to develop your warehouse and query data from different sources.
Hi everyone, here is a short video to show how you can create a Python user data functions in Fabric. Log into Fabric portal, and in the data engineering experience, you can go create a new user data function. Let's create one called demo function. Now that the user data function is created, let's set the language to Python and click on New Function to start with the sample template. You can view the code of the sample template in the Code tab. Now I want to add a custom function, which is vectorizing a string, so let me open in VS Code to start editing. I need to set up my local Python environment so I can do local debugging. So let's create the virtual environment. Make sure you're using Python version 3.11 with any user data function. Once the environment is set up, I can create this function, vectorize_string, that takes a string input and returns the dump of tokens and vector values that are created. I will use scikit-learn library here. User data functions will have built-in libraries that you can use for all your data engineering needs to get started faster. Now let's debug the function. During debugging, you need to authenticate with your Fabric account to execute the function locally. You can add breakpoints in your code if needed. Let's provide a string that is a customer review for a canned dog food item and run the function. You can see the vector values that were created based on the text that I passed. Let us publish this function to Fabric so that it's ready to use. In the Fabric portal, you can see the newly added function is visible in the Functions Explorer. You can copy the public URL, include it in your front-end application, or you can create a functions activity in data pipelines. This was a quick overview of creating a Python user data function in Fabric. Thank you for watching.
We are introducing a new feature in API for GraphQL that allows you to enable or disable queries and mutations. In this demo, you can see the product model's query being invoked as normal. Results are returned as you would expect. Clicking on the ellipsis next to a query shows you the disable option. Let's select it and wait for our API schema to reload. Now let's attempt to execute the query again. Since the query has been disabled, we get an error when we execute it. This will continue to happen until we enable the query again. Note that the query that is now disabled is shown grayed out on the Schema Explorer. Clicking on the ellipsis again, let's choose to enable the query. We wait a couple seconds for our schema to reload, and then attempt to run the query again. And there it is. Our query executes again normally. Note in the Schema Explorer, we can see the query is no longer grayed out. Thank you for watching.
Fabric Synapse Data Science. Data Wrangler now supports Spark data frames, and PySpark code generation is generally available. Data Wrangler, a notebook-based tool for exploratory data analysis, now works for both Pandas data frames and Spark data frames in general availability. You can use the tool to explore and transform data in your notebook with an immersive visual interface, generating either Python code or PySpark code in just a few steps. If you've used Data Wrangler before, the steps will be familiar. You can begin by opening any active Pandas or Spark data frame from the Data Wrangler prompt in the Notebook ribbon. Announcing new usability improvements for Data Wrangler. You may have noticed that Data Wrangler has a new entry point under the Home tab of Fabric Notebook ribbon. We're excited to share additional usability updates designed to improve your user experience. Launch Data Wrangler directly from a cell. Work faster with improved performance, and modify your display using the new Views prompt. File Editor in Notebook. We're excited to share the launch of the File Editor feature in Fabric Notebook. This new feature allows users to view and edit files directly within the Notebook's resource folder and environment resource folder in Notebook. Supported file types include CSV, text, HTML, YAML, Py, SQL, and more. Now let's take a look at some demos.
Data Wrangler is a code generation tool that now supports Spark in general availability. Let's demonstrate by cleaning up some customer churn data. We can open Pandas or Spark data frames from the Notebook ribbon in Data Wrangler. Here, we have the ability to customize the sample if we choose. When we open a Spark data frame, Data Wrangler will convert the data to Pandas to keep the performance snappy, but all of the code generated in the end will be automatically translated back to PySpark. As always, we have an interactive display at the center of the screen, a summary panel on the right-hand side, a code panel below it, and a library of data cleaning transformations on the left. We can minimize any of these panels using the new Views tab based on our preferences or screen size. To begin, let's drop this customer ID column. It doesn't give us much descriptive information. Data Wrangler will update the display to preview the operation and show us the corresponding code below. If we're happy, we can accept this step. It'll be committed to a running list on the left-hand side of the screen. Next, we can browse operations from the library and drop missing values across two columns at once. The sequence here is going to be the same. Data Wrangler will load the preview and the code, and then we can apply or discard that step. You'll notice, in this case, that once we apply the step, the percentage of missing values displayed in the header of each of those columns becomes 0. Moving along, we might notice that this gender column has some inconsistent values. We can use the find and replace operation to change the instances of M to male. Notice that as we do this, the breakdown of the values in the header will change to reflect our operation. There's no more M. We can go ahead and apply that step. Now we're seeing F values instead of female, so we can standardize those two in the same way. Our newly previewed gender column will, in the end, have just 2 values. If we're happy with how that looks, we can go ahead and apply the step. To get the most out of these column header insights, we might need to do some type conversion. If we take a look at this monthly charges column at the end, we'll see that it's an object, but it looks like it should probably be numeric. We can go ahead and change the values to be floats. You'll notice, as we do that and preview the new column, that the visualization in the header is going to change to a histogram showing a range of values. As a last step, if we want, we can take those numeric values and normalize them so that the new range falls from 0 to 1. That's often useful for training machine learning models. Once again, we get to see a preview with an updated histogram, and then we can go ahead and apply the step. We could keep on going like this, but no matter where we stop, Data Wrangler always lets us export the code back to our notebook. Since we started with a Spark data frame, we'll end up with a reusable Spark function in the end that we can run or edit. If you use Fabric notebooks, you may be familiar with Data Wrangler, a popular code generator that lets you visualize and transform Pandas or Spark data frames in an immersive interface. You can always open the tool from the Notebook ribbon by selecting an active Pandas or Spark data frame. But thanks to some new usability improvements, you can now also launch Data Wrangler directly from the output of a display cell. Let's take a look at this data frame. Data Wrangler's display includes an Excel-like preview of your data with built-in stats and visualizations. There's also a summary panel to the right of that display grid with more info. There's a code panel where generated logic will land, and a library of operations. We've also added in a new Views tab that allows you to minimize or hide portions of the screen while you work. For starters, let's go ahead and scale this column of numeric values so that they fall between 0 and 1. Once the preview of that data loads, you can go ahead and minimize the code panel to take a closer look at the generated values. If that looks right, you can commit the step in a single click, and thanks to some new performance improvements, there will be no added wait time to apply the transformation. Data Wrangler lets you string together many transformations, but for now you can head back to the notebook where all of that applied logic lands as reproducible code. We hope you enjoy the usability updates and keep on wrangling.
Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. Creating a real-time dashboard with Copilot. From the list of tables in the Real-Time Hub, a user can click on the 3 dots menu and select Create Real-Time Dashboard. Copilot will create a dashboard with 2 pages, one with insights about the data in the table, and one page that contains a profile of the data with a sample, the table schema, and more details about the values in each column. Adding a real-time dashboard to an org app. Real-time dashboards can now be included in the new version of org apps. This makes it very easy to distribute real-time dashboards to large user cohorts outside of a specific workspace. We're thrilled to announce the launch of the new Real-Time Hub user experience, a redesigned and enhanced experience that will help you get the most out of your real-time data. Whether you want to monitor, process, analyze, or act on your data streams, the new UX will make it easier and faster than ever. This month, we're announcing the expansion of our event stream connectors with 4 new powerful stream sources, enabling even more seamless data streaming across your ecosystem. Azure SQL MI CDC, SQL Server on VM CDC, Apache Kafka, Amazon MSK Kafka. As a part of our ongoing efforts to enhance event stream capabilities, we're excited to introduce Eventhouse as a destination for your data streams. Event houses, equipped with KQL databases, are designed to handle and analyze large volumes of data, particularly in scenarios that demand real-time analytics and exploration. With the Eventhouse destination and event stream, you can efficiently process and route data streams into an event house and analyze the data in near real time using KQL. This month, we're excited to introduce the new private network feature for Fabric Event Stream. With Fabric's managed and private endpoints, you can now establish a private connection between your Azure services, such as Azure Event Hubs, and Fabric Event Stream. This integration ensures your data is securely transmitted within a private network, allowing you to explore the full power of real-time streaming and high-performance data processing that event streams offer. This month, we're unveiling a newly redesigned KQL database experience in Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. This update brings a clean, modern interface packed with powerful features that help you work smarter, whether you're managing several databases, dealing with streaming data, or exploring massive data sets. And now you can also set up data activator alerts directly on your KQL queries and KQL query sets. Whether you're tracking real-time metrics or keeping an eye on important logs, this feature makes sure that you get notified the moment something important happens. You're also able to set alerts to triggers based upon specific results or conditions from a scheduled KQL query. This month, we're also bringing a new feature called Top Values to our no-code data exploration UI, and it's now available in the real-time dashboard tiles. This new component makes it easier than ever to explore and understand your data without writing a single line of code. Instantly view the top values for each column in your query results set, allowing you to see value distributions and gain insights into the nature of your data. Plus, seamlessly add new filters directly from this component to refine your analysis. We're pleased to share an enhancement to our dashboard auto refresh feature, now supporting continuous and 10-second refresh rates, in addition to the existing options. This upgrade, addressing a popular customer request, allows both editors and viewers to set near real-time and real-time data updates, ensuring your dashboards display the most current information with minimal delay. Experience faster data refresh and make more timely decisions with our improved dashboard capabilities. Now you can use the power of Eventhouse, Spark, and OneLake to perform real-time monitoring and multivariate anomaly detection of a time series. We've added a workflow that is based upon the algorithm that is used in the AI Anomaly Detector service, which is being retired as a standalone service. Whether you're using real-time dashboards or KQL query sets for time series analysis, you'll find our new enhanced time series analysis feature to be a great way of interacting with your data visualization. You can now interact with data by selecting specific items from the legend using your mouse, using Control to add and remove selections, or by holding Shift to select an entire range. The search buttons help you quickly filter out items, while the invert button allows you to reverse your selections. Navigate through your selections with ease, using the up and down arrows to refine your data view. We'd also like to share an upgrade to Copilot, which translates natural language into KQL. Now, Copilot supports a conversational mode, allowing you to ask follow-up questions that build upon previous queries within the chat. This enhancement enables a more intuitive and seamless data exploration experience, making it easier to refine your queries and dive deeper into your data, all within a natural conversation flow. We've added a new rule creation experience within Data Activator this month. This innovative experience unlocks new capabilities to monitor your events with more fine-tuned controls at greater scale, ensuring you solve and stay on top of your operational business challenges with ease. The new unified experience allows you to easily bring in your data, identifying the business objects you want to monitor, quickly and easily create business rules on top of them, and automatically carry out actions when the rule is met. This feature is not only a new and improved experience on the same functionality as available today, but it also lays on top of the groundwork for new modeling capabilities. This feature is not only a new and improved experience on the same functionality as is available today, but it also lays the groundwork for new modeling capabilities in the future. We've made it easier to alert your teammates in Power BI. We've streamlined the process of creating Data Activator alerts for your teammates in Power BI. Previously, you had to create your alert in Power BI, then open it in Data Activator and add your teammates as recipients. Now you can add recipients directly within Power BI. We're rolling this out gradually over the coming weeks, so look out for it during the month of September when you click Set Alert in Power BI. Now, sit back and relax, because we've got a whole slew of demos to share.
Hello, my name is Danny Hotter, and in this short video I will show you a new feature in Fabric Real-Time Intelligence of creating a real-time dashboard by using OpenAI. So it's a Copilot for generating dashboard based on a table in the real-time hub. So here's the real-time hub, and I have this table called Sales Table New. I open this dialog, this menu, and I see an option to create a real-time dashboard. I can decide if I want to go forward, and I do. So I click on Get Started. And now we are sending the schema of this table and together with it some instruction of how to create a dashboard. And it takes some time to process and create the queries that are going to be used behind the tiles in the dashboard. Once the queries are created by the Copilot, we show the dashboard. At first, you see the first part of the page is some reminders about the fact that it's AI generated and so on. And you can and then you see 4 tiles give you some insight about the data that you just in the table. Here there's a tile for 10 products by sale, 10 products by quantity, top 10 countries. Actually, if I run it again, I might get something different. It's not necessarily giving me the same dashboard every time. Once I have the dashboard, there's another page. This is the insight page, and then there's a profile page that gives us a profiling of the data. So if we go to the top of the page, I can select any one of the datetime columns. For example, order date, I will see a histogram of the rows as they arrived by order date. I see a sample of the data with all the columns, just to get familiar with the contents of the table. And then in the last part of the page, of the profile page, I see the schema of the table, the list of columns and each column's type. And I can select any one of this column. For example, I can select manufacturer column, right click on it. And in the menu, I see a cross filter option. If I click on it, actually it uses this column to create this pie chart of the values for this column in the 1 million rows out of the table. I see the number of unique values. And if I select, for example, a date column, here I select another column and I can see the minimum and maximum values, the number of unique values. So this gives me some familiarity with the content of the data, and I can decide if I want to continue to use this dashboard or create more dashboards out of this table. And the dashboard was created in the same workspace in which the data resides, provided I have the rights to do it. If I don't have the rights to create new items in the workspace because I only have view rights, the real-time dashboard will be created in my personal workspace. But here, it's actually created in the workspace because I do have the rights to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Danny Houter, and in this short video, I will show you how to create an org app and include in this org app a Power BI report and also a real-time dashboard. So to make it quick here, I already created an org app, so you just can, you can just look for the items under Power BI, and one of them is an org app. So here I have an org app called new org app, but when I open it, it's actually empty. So I can switch to edit and start adding content to the app. Content can be Power BI reports, paginated reports, notebooks in Fabric, and also now real-time dashboards. So when I click add content, I see all the elements in my workspace that are candidates for getting into a dashboard. So I select this Power BI report and this sales real-time dashboard. I add them to the app and they both show up, and I can go and preview the app the way a user will see it. So I can switch to preview, and this is the way a user will see the app, and I can click on the report to select specific country and so on. So the report is fully interactive, and the same is the sales, the real-time dashboard, which is also fully interactive, shows in view mode. It will show up in a few seconds. This is the first time I open this, so it takes a little more time. Okay, here it is. And also here I can actually select different countries and see a pie chart of sales with all the states for this country. I can go out of preview, save the results, and I have now an org app that I can start sharing with users. And instead of sharing individual reports and real-time dashboard, I can just share the org app. Just notice that for now, you also need to give the users access to the database behind the dashboards or the reports. Thanks.
We're very excited to announce the launch of the new Real-Time Hub user experience, a redesigned and enhanced experience that will help you get the most out of your real-time data. Whether you want to monitor, process, analyze, or act on your data streams, the new UX will make it easier and faster than ever. In this video, I will introduce 4 new changes to the Real-Time Hub. Firstly, a new left navigation will provide you with seamless access to all your data in motion. This includes both the data streams that you have access to and the ones that you have integrated into Fabric, as well as Fabric events and Azure resources. With just a few clicks, you can now effortlessly navigate through these resources in a more user-friendly way. When the user first lands on the home page, the guide bubbles will walk the user through the new design. Additionally, the tooltips assigned of the menu items will ease the user into this new user experience as well. The second change we're introducing is the new page called My Streams, where you can bring in extra events from various sources and integrate them with your real-time data. You can use My Streams to create custom streams that combine data from different sources, including Microsoft sources, database CDC, and Fabric events. You can also use sample data to bootstrap your experience on the Real-Time Hub. Another new change, as you noticed from this page, is that Get Events button is now rebranded as at Source, which aligns with the value proposition of the Real-Time Hub to allow customers to not only discover, manage, and consume events, but also all the other types of data in motion. You can find at Source button on top of the All Data Streams page, as well as My Streams page. Last but not least, we're introducing 4 new event stream connectors into the Real-Time Hub. Now you can stream data from Azure SQL MI-DB CDC, SQL Server on VM DB CDC, Apache Kafka, and Amazon MSK Kafka. These sources will enable you to enrich your real-time data with historical and analytical data from your data warehouse or database. Now, we will add a new Azure SQL MI-DB CDC source. Once the Selected Data Source dialog pops up, I will scroll down to find Azure SQL MI-DB CDC option. Clicking on it will lead me to the next step to configure connection settings. Now, I will create a new connection by filling out the information for server, database, and connection credentials. Once I'm done, I will click Connect and land on Connect screen. Here I can select the table that I want to connect to and change the event stream name and click Next. Then next, the Review and Create screen will show up before I click Create Source. Once I finish review, I will click Create Source button. Once it is successfully created, the status of both tasks will be shown as successful. I can now click Open Event Stream to view the event stream that I just created. To learn more about the Real-Time Hub new user experience and new connectors introduced in this video, please visit aka.ms/realtimehub.
Hey, my name is Svea Gitlin-Torna, a Principal PM Manager for Real-Time Intelligence. Welcome to the Eventhouse demo. Today, we will be showcasing some exciting new features that will empower you to gain fast insights and easily manage your databases. Let's start with System Overview. This is your one-stop location for all information about your Eventhouse. Here, you can find activity status, storage, OneLake availability, also usage per database, per user. You can find what are the latest updates on the table and metadata of the Eventhouse. Now, let's move to the database tile page to see the overall status of all the databases related to this Eventhouse. I will select one of the databases for dive deeper. This is the database page. Here, you can easily see the ingestion status and data stream. You can also see how the histogram updates with new data. You can change the time frame of the histogram and also the bin in order to get better understanding. Additionally, you can view the data at the table level, and you can see the updates per table, the ingestion status per table. You can see what is the size, what is the OneLake availability, and additional information. When you move to the data preview, you can see a sample of the new table and of the new data with the different colors representing the age of the event in seconds. At the table view, you can also see live updates and live data. OneLake availability shows you what is the status of each and every table. You can also have metadata of the database itself and also, of course, the size. Once I click on one of the tables, I can get the data at the table level, including when OneLake availability started. You can see the view of the table schema. You can see the sample of the latest data, same with the different coloring and the histogram that updates and refresh automatically. I can see the schema of the table, and per column I can also get the top values and which helped me to get a very fast insight on my data, actually in seconds. I noticed that the top rated payment type is 1 to 4. I would like to explore more. For that, we have added the embedded KQL query set per database. Every database has a related query set that is a child item of the database. The user can easily write any query, run it in one tab or any additional tab that they need. This KQL query set is also an item at the workspace, which the user can easily select and share it with their team and colleagues. In this demo, we shared the new UX features of Eventhouse, empowering Eventhouse users to gain fast insight and easily manage their databases. Thank you for sharing. Enjoy it and
In this video, we'll learn how to set alert on a KQL query set in real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric. The KQL query set is the item used to write, view, and run queries from a KQL database in Eventhouse. Let's jump into a quick demo. Now you can use Data Activator directly from the query set to trigger notifications based on a scheduled KQL query. Let's say we have a table storing application logs with columns like date, machine details, log level, and an event text column containing string that describes the current log record. I want to check if any records from the last hour contain a specific string in the event text column. For example, the string exception. I'll write and run the query. Then click Set Alert in the top ribbon. This opens the Data Activator side pane, where I can choose how frequently the query should be evaluated. Next is the condition. In this case, it's set to check every event, meaning I'll receive an alert anytime the query returns one or more records, indicating that records matching my query were found. KQL gives you full flexibility to write powerful queries and include advanced capabilities like text search, JSON parsing, time series analysis, and more. Now, I can select the action, whether I want Data Activator to send an email, a Teams notification, or trigger a Fabric item like a pipeline or notebook. I can also choose where to save the reflex item. I can select an existing location or create a new one. Once I'm ready, I'll click Create Alert. Behind the scenes, a reflex item will be created, the side pane will close, and I can continue working with my query set. If you want to receive an alert only when there are, for example, 10 or more records with the text exception in the last day, simply add another filter of a where clause to filter based on the record count, and then hit Set Alert. There's also another alert mode that's useful when your result set includes visualizations. For example, I have a query that includes a column chart visualization showing the number of records by level. Here, I can click the Set Alert button again and set conditions to trigger the alert. For example, if I want to monitor the count for each level and be notified whenever a level count exceeds 100, I can easily set that up. Again, I can choose the action and where to save the reflex item, selecting an existing item or creating a new one. Hit Create, and you're ready to go. After a while, let's check how it looks on the Data Activator page. On the Data tab, we can see the data flowing in over time. On the Design tab, I can see the data split by different levels, the detection logic, the trigger activations, and the action, which in this case is sending a Teams message. This was a quick overview of how to set alerts on a KQL query set in Fabric. Thank you for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Michal Bar, and I'm a program manager on the real-time intelligence team. In this demo, I'll show the latest upgrade to our NL to KQL Copilot, which now supports conversational mode. Copilot is available in query sets, in KQL query set item, and it translates natural language into KQL to help you become more productive. I'll start off with asking the simple question, what are the different types of events in the dataset of GitHub events? Note that this one table is very, very large. After I've received an answer, a KQL answer from Copilot, I now think that maybe I should have asked, what is the largest what is the highest number of events? Because this is what I'm really interested in. With conversation mode, I can ask a follow-up question that builds on top of previous questions asked in the same chat. So I'm asking, and which are the highest number of events? I can insert the query, run it, and get a simple answer. It was the push events.
Fabric Data Factory Data Flows Gen 2. Earlier this year, we released a public preview of the Copilot Data Factory capabilities in Data Flows Gen 2. Today, we're excited to announce that these capabilities are now generally available. Copilot in Fabric enhances productivity, unlocks profound insights, and facilitates the creation of custom AI experiences tailored to your data. As a component of the Copilot in Fabric experience, Copilot in Data Factory empowers customers to use natural language to articulate the requirements for creating data integration solutions using Data Flows Gen 2. Essentially, Copilot in Data Factory operates like a subject matter expert, collaborating with you to design your data flows. The Fast Copy feature is now generally available. This functionality enables efficient ingestion of large amounts of data, utilizing the same backend as the copy activity in data pipelines. It significantly reduces data processing time and enhances cost efficiency. We're happy to share the introduction of incremental refresh for Data Flows Gen 2. This significant enhancement in Microsoft Fabric's Data Factory is designed to optimize data ingestion and transformation, particularly as your data continues to expand. We're pleased to announce new and updated connectors in this release. New connectors are Kaivash and ClickHouse, and there's an updated connector for Information Grid. Now let's take a look at a demo of Data Flows Gen 2 incremental refresh.
Welcome to an introduction of incremental refresh in Data Flows Gen 2. As you can see, we are in the Data Flow Gen 2 authoring experience. Over here, we're going to get started with getting some data from our lakehouse. So we go here, click on More, go to our source sample. Over here, we have a table called Contoso Sales, which got some data for this year, last year, and some years prior to that, that we want to load into our warehouse. So let's get that one selected and click on Create. Our query is now created. Over here, we are now able to enable incremental refresh. We do that by doing a right click on the query and click on incremental refresh. You can also do this by doing a right click on the queries on the left-hand side and click on incremental refresh. Once you do that, you will be requested to enable incremental refresh and select the date time you want to filter by. In this case, I want to order, get my data based on order date. Then next, you are selecting the number of the window of data that you want to refresh all the time. So in this case, I want to refresh my data. Let's put in the last 4 months. So I expect any data in the last 4 months maybe to change or anything like that. So I select here 4 months of data that I want to look into and do a delta check upon. Then we have bucket size. Bucket size, you can see it as a value that is the size of your bucket that you get your data from the source. So in this case, I may want to go with day, week, month, quarter, or year. As we're working with 4 months of data, I think week would be the best determining factor to get the data from the data source. And then we have to set our delta check column. So with a lot of sources, you have a column that's either indicating if a row is modified or if anything has changed about the order line that you have within your data source. And this is also the column you want to select for detecting your data change. So in this case, select modified date. Then with that, we hit OK. And as you can see now, our data source or table has a blue triangle, meaning that incremental refresh is enabled for this table. Now to go one step further, we also want to load our data into the warehouse. We go here, click on Next. Make sure that we are authenticated and select our incremental warehouse as our data destination. We want to have a new table and we want to make sure that it aligns with the existing schema within our experience. So in this case, we can just leave it as is and hit save. Now we have our data flow set up and we can start the publish process. You give it a minute and we should be able to do a refresh and check the delta times. Our refresh was successful. Let's have a look into the refresh history. As you can see, we did do a refresh twice. The first refresh was a full refresh, or at least the refresh took all the data from the data source. Second one is just an incremental update. As there was no new data, it just checked all the buckets if there was new data available. But if there is none, it will just continue looking for the other buckets if there's any new data available. Significantly reduces time, especially on larger data sets. I hope you guys love it. Let us know if you have any feedback for us on incremental refresh. Thank you.
Fabric Data Pipeline. Fabric Data Pipeline integration in on-premises data gateway is now generally available. Using the on-premises data gateway, customers can connect to on-premises data sources using data pipelines with Data Factory and Microsoft Fabric. This enhancement significantly broadens the scope of data integration capabilities. In essence, by using an on-premises data gateway, organizations can keep their databases and other data sources in their on-premises networks while securely integrating them into Microsoft Fabric in the cloud. Fabric User Data Functions is now in public preview as a part of an existing Fabric Data Factory Functions pipeline activity. Fabric User Data Functions provides an easy way to quickly build and manage serverless custom code that is optimized for Fabric data engineering. With a new pipeline activity in Data Factory Data Pipelines, you'll now be able to add your function code to your automated pipelines for endless possibilities of data processing and data transformation using your own code. This new feature inside of the existing functions activity in data pipelines will be available shortly in Fabric Data Factory. We've been working hard to make the very popular data pipeline activity known as Invoke pipeline better and more powerful. Based on customer feedback, we continue to iterate on the possibilities and have now added an exciting ability to call pipelines from Azure Data Factory or Synapse Analytic pipelines as a public preview. This opens tremendous possibilities to utilize your existing ADF or Synapse pipelines inside of a Fabric pipeline by calling it inline through the new Invoke pipeline activity. Use cases that include calling mapping data flows or SSIS pipelines from your Fabric data pipeline will now be possible. One of the more popular use cases in Fabric Data Factory today is automating and orchestrating Fabric Spark Notebook execution from your data pipelines. A very common request has been to reuse existing Spark sessions to avoid any cold start delays. And now we've delivered on that request by enabling session tags as an optional parameter under advanced settings in Fabric Spark Notebook activities. Now you can tag your Spark sessions and then reuse the existing session using the same tag to reuse an existing session and greatly reduce the overall processing time of your data pipelines. Now let's take a look at some demos.
We are excited to announce the preview of Fabric User Data Functions as part of the existing Fabric Data Factory Functions pipeline activity. With this new pipeline activity in data pipelines, you'll now be able to add your function code to your automated data pipelines for endless possibilities of data processing and data transformation using your own custom code. Let's go ahead and see this in action. On my Data Factory homepage, I can quickly navigate to the Functions hub and create a new user data function. Fabric User Data Functions provide an easy way to quickly build and manage serverless custom code that is optimized for Fabric data engineering. We can give the user data function a name, and within a few seconds, we can see a new Hello World function that has been created. I can customize this function or add a new one using VS Code with Python or C#. Through this interface, I'm also able to test my function using sample parameter values that my function takes in. And I can also take a look at the logs of running this function invoked from other Fabric items. I have opened a more complex function, and in this function you can take two inputs from the user, in this case 2 double values. The function takes these values and sums them together and returns a resulting summation value. To test this out, we can input sample values in the Testing tab. And within a few seconds we can see the value of the 2 numbers that have been returned. Now, let's transition into how we can invoke a user data function in a pipeline activity. Let's go to my workspace and open a new pipeline. I can quickly add a new functions activity and immediately go to the Settings tab. Here we have the integration user data functions with our existing function activity that gives you the ability to invoke an Azure function as well. For this example, let's select Fabric User Data Function as the function type to execute. Let's go ahead and select our function that adds 2 double integers together. I'll select the workspace, the Fabric User Data Function, and then select the function that I want to execute. I'll quickly input the numbers under the Parameters tab, but this can also be inputted via dynamic parameters. And it was that easy to configure. I can of course integrate this activity with other activities in my pipeline, but for this demo, I will keep it simple. Let's go ahead and run the pipeline. And within a few seconds, we can see that the pipeline ran successfully with the correct return value. You have just seen how easy it is to create user data functions and seamlessly invoke them directly in the functions activity and data pipelines. This new feature instead of the existing functions activity and data pipelines will be available shortly in Fabric Data Factory. Thank you for watching this demo.
Hey Data Factory fans, today I want to introduce you to some really exciting new enhancements that we are releasing as part of the Invoke pipeline activity in Fabric Data Factory pipelines. Now when you click on the Activities tab, the ribbon will show two different Invoke pipeline activities. We have the Invoke pipeline activity that is there already today, which is now considered legacy, so we have it labeled as legacy. Then there's the new one that I want to talk about, which is the preview for the brand new Invoke pipeline. Some really exciting new features available to you now. First thing you'll see is down here in the settings, 3 different radio buttons. You can now invoke pipelines from Fabric as well as your existing pipelines from Azure Data Factory and Synapse, creating and opening up some really exciting possibilities for you to execute inline invoking your pipelines from ADF or Synapse in addition to the Fabric activities that you are executing. So I could have an invoke pipeline here that's going to execute a pipeline from ADF that might have a mapping data flow in it or an SSIS package in it, things that are not available to you today inside of Fabric. And all of the investments you've made down ADF and Synapse pipelines can be utilized inside of your Fabric pipeline. I could add to this a notebook right after that and connect these things, and they would still work just as is, as if there was a child pipeline inside of my Fabric workspace. In addition to that, when I click on Fabric for my Invoke pipeline, I can now invoke pipelines across workspaces within Fabric. So I can, if I have access to a pipeline from another workspace, I can invoke and execute that as a child pipeline here inside of Fabric. Let me show you real quickly what this looks like to be able to leverage your Azure Data Factory pipelines inside of Fabric. This is my ADF that happens to have a mapping data flow in it, which I do not have access to inside of Fabric natively. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that pipeline inside of Fabric and I'm going to point to that data factory and execute that pipeline 1, invoking it from Fabric. So now when I run this, and remember for those of you who are coming from ADF and Synapse, running in line here in place from your Fabric UI is essentially the equivalent of running that pipeline in ADF or Synapse in what's known as debug mode. Right, so let me fix that to take care of that, getting rid of that notebook activity that I added there just to demonstrate. And I'm going to run this now in what is essentially run now or debug mode inside of Fabric. And what this is going to do is change the context to run and invoke that pipeline from ADF. So you'll see the parent here inside of Fabric. And if I go over into back to my data factory, and I go to monitoring, you will see that it is being executed and invoked here from my Fabric pipeline. So the child essentially is going to have the detail monitoring available to me here inside of ADF, and then back in Fabric, I have the parent. So a lot of really exciting, cool new capabilities enabled for you here inside of the Fabric Data Factory with the new Invoke pipeline to be able to invoke pipelines inside of Fabric across workspaces and to include your ADF and Synapse pipelines in Fabric as well. Thanks for watching.
Hey Data Factory fans, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to introduce you to a new feature that we're bringing to Fabric Data Factory that will allow your Fabric notebook runs to execute in a highly concurrent, highly parallelized, very fast manner within your Fabric Data Factory pipelines. So now when you execute a notebook activity from your pipeline, you're going to have the option to leverage high concurrency within your Spark cluster. This is a very easy option to enable, and it will be an option that you can use for your notebook activities. So before I do show you how to set this up in your pipeline, the first thing I want you to know is that you need to turn on the concurrency model for Spark in Fabric from your workspace. So I'm going to go to my workspace, and I will click on Workspace Settings. Over here where you see Data Engineering, Data Science, essentially where your Spark settings are going to be found, you can click on High Concurrency, and then you can enable High Concurrency for Notebook, and down here is High Concurrency for Pipeline running multiple notebooks. So in my example on my pipeline, when I go back to my pipeline, you will see that what I've done is I've set up an environment where I have these two notebook runs that are actually connected. So these are going to run in sequence, but this notebook run is hanging off by itself. So this is going to run in parallel once this one kicks off, and also in parallel, because it's not connected by a sequential line, is the for each activity that's going to also run multiple notebooks using a for each of a range that is set from 1 to 4. So for each one of those iterations, I'm going to run another notebook. So when I run this, using just the default settings of a notebook, which is available under here under Advanced, there will be a new parameter that I can use to set the name of the session. So in the session tag, I can call this session my session. So now I've established a session that's called my session. If I were to enter the same tag value, which is string value, my session, into any of the additional notebook activities on my pipeline, I will then be able to reuse that same existing Spark session without needing to have to face the startup time or the cold startup time of a new session from my Spark cluster. So after I've run this pipeline, if you go into Monitor, you will then see the results of the different notebook runs that I've had. And you can see that they ran concurrently at the same time. And so you can verify that by clicking into each of the sessions. Let me click on the first one in the list. And what you'll see is that the session associated with that notebook will be the same as all of the other notebooks that use that same session tag. So this is using high concurrency, and this is the GUID associated with that session. So I'll go back out to my main monitoring view now, and I'll click on the second notebook run. And this is a different notebook that used the same session tag. You see that's reusing the same session GUID and executed starting at the same time. Okay, so let me switch my monitoring view now to the pipeline that I ran. And when you go into the details of the detailed monitoring for the pipeline, you can see just how effective using that option of setting the session tag parameter actually is. And at the start time of notebook 1 and notebook 2, and then the for each, were all essentially at the exact same time. And they all completed. And obviously, these are really simple, just test demo notebooks, but the execution of them started at the same time. The last one ran in sequence because that was attached on the success of the first notebook run. So that's a quick look at the session tag that you can use in your Fabric Data Factory pipelines when you're executing a notebook and want to use high concurrency. Thanks for watching.
Fabric Mirroring. Mirror Azure SQL Database in Fabric now extends our capability to support mirrored tables within additional SQL's Dynamic Definition Language, or DDL. Now operations such as drop table, rename table, and rename column can be seamlessly executed while tables are in the process of mirroring. Bring your existing Azure Data Factory, or ADF, to your Fabric workspace. We're now introducing a new preview capability that allows you to connect to your existing ADF factories from your Fabric workspace. By clicking Create Azure Data Factory inside of your Fabric Data Factory workspace, you will now be able to fully manage your ADF factories directly from the Fabric workspace UI. Once your ADF is linked to your Fabric workspace, you'll be able to trigger, execute, and monitor your pipelines as you do in ADF, but directly inside of Fabric. We'd like to introduce Copy Job, elevating the data ingestion experience to a more streamlined and user-friendly process from any data source to any data destination. This feature is in public preview, and now copying your data is even easier than ever. Moreover, Copy Job supports various data delivery styles, including both batch copy and incremental copy, offering flexibility to meet your specific needs. Now let's take a look at some demos.
We're now looking at the database Adventure works. We have the product table. We have added a column for rating. There's no type, tiny int, and we notice that most of the products have a rating. We now see the same product table already mirrored here. We notice that we have the column rating with most of the values. We wish to see more granular product ratings, so we now want to update the rating column to hold decimal numbers and will update the data type to be decimal. Type decimal, rating 8.5. We will now view the same update in the mirrored database. We now see that the rating column data type has been updated to whole decimal points, and we see a rating of 8.5.
Today, we're excited to demonstrate how the copy job and data factory within Fabric simplifies data movement, offering a seamless experience for both batch and incremental copying delivery styles. Let's kick things off by creating a new artifact in the Data Factory homepage to begin the data copy process. After naming our artifact, we're presented with a screen to connect to various data sources, similar to our copy activity data factory today. Let's connect to an address SQL DB and select some tables we want to copy. Now, let's choose the Fabric Lakehouse as our data destination. In the next screen, we can select how we want to move our data, either a full copy once or an incremental copy continuously. Let's choose the full copy once, and then we're presented with a summary of the configuration details before starting the copy process. We'll make sure to start the copy process right away as soon as we save the configurations. Immediately, we see our copy job from our Azure SQL database to the Fabric Lakehouse underway. On this page, we have the ability to manage advanced configurations like read behaviors, write behaviors, and partitions, and adjusting latency of the copy job. Additionally, we can monitor the status, including throughput of our copy process, along with the data volumes loaded. Now you can see the data has been successfully copied to the Fabric Lakehouse. Next, let's see how we can create another copy job to incrementally copy from SQL DB to another SQL DB. As with our previous example, we'll begin by establishing a connection to the SQL DB, selecting the tables and columns you want to copy, and specifying another SQL DB as a destination. We'll also give options to configure source to destination tables, including renaming, column mapping, and data type conversion. Once we've made our selections, we'll opt for an incremental copy by specifying the watermark column for each table. With these settings in place, we'll initiate the setup process, observing the efficient copy mechanisms in action. Initially, a full data copy will be performed, ensuring all relevant data is transferred accurately. You will see the initial snapshot data available in the destination store. Subsequent copies will only involve transferring the changed data, minimizing the time and resources required for each operation. For example, if I insert a couple rows into the source, only these 2 rows will be copied by the copy job in subsequent runs. If I go back to my pipeline, I can see that we've incrementally loaded those 2 added rows. To summarize, Copy Job and Data Factory offers a seamless experience for moving data from any source to any destination. It supports various delivery styles, including batch and incremental copy, providing flexible control over data movement. Since the copy job is an evolution of the copy activity data pipelines, we will soon be able to support even more sources and destinations, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching our walkthrough.
That's all for this month, and wow, what a month. Please visit our Fabric community forums at aka.ms/Fabric community. It's the best place for you to connect with others and get answers to your questions. And please, tell us how we can do better. We are listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.